I don't think I actually have lumberyard stuff. We could make the game prettier. That would be an easy-ish thing to do. Why don't I do that? I've done something gameplay related. Let's do something artsy. Yeah, I like the sound of that. So, alright guys, I'm going to take a quick break, get myself some water, get myself a drink, because I've been talking this entire time without a single drop of anything, right? This is empty. I almost thought I saw something drop out. So, I will be back, let's say in 5 or so minutes. Let's say a couple more than 5. But when I'm back, we will add rocks, and when we'll break off the pathfinding on the rocks so that people don't walk through them. Nice simple task we'll round the day out with. Then I'll take questions and we'll call it a day. So be back in a little bit. Hey folks, I'm late. I'm sorry. How it goes, I got a Krispy Kreme though, and I am busy eating it. Because Krispy Kremes, they're really freaking good. Like really, really freaking good. So, let's add some rocks. I like rocks. They make the game pretty. Prettier. Let's see here. Rocks. These look like rocks. Yeah, they are. Cool. Oh. They're like liquid sugar.
They're solid sugar.
Except solid. Yeah.
They're literally just sugar. And dough. It's dough and sugar.
You should have seen the one we had yesterday. They had a chocolate chip cookie dough Krispy Kreme. Bad.
That's dough, sugar, and sugar with extra flavoring.
Yep. And chocolate chips.
That's the extra flavoring.
Okay. Got it. Alright, so let's see here. We got rocks. Basic, easy things to dump into our environment and essentially have it just take up space and look interesting. Ta-da! Rock. Now, oh god. Can I do this keyboard shortcut with one hand? Control-Alt-Shift-C.
Yeah, you got this.
I got it. Bit of a pain, but I can get it. It's all that StarCraft playing that's paying off now. Alright, so now that I've got the donut out of the way, I should probably get my headphones on, and I think the music stopped. Whoops. Let's jump to more music. There we go. So, let's see here. We've got our Rock 3D model. Pretty simple, basic thing. Let's get the Blender scale to match the game scale so that we understand how big this object's going to actually be in our game. And we also should probably drag this up into our game space. Nope, I can go a little higher. Let's try, That looks about right. Might be a little high, but I'm not too worried about it. And it's already got all of its Unity, or not Unity, all of its UV, all of its UV stuff attached. So I don't really have to worry about a ton more than that. And we will call this, let's see, I think it's the largest of the rocks. Yeah. So this will be rock large. Export it to the engine type. And let's get the engine running. Close all these files I don't need anymore. New world. Yeah. Import scene. Large rock. And then we have to import the material. Match it to the rock. And that's really all there is to it. There's not a ton else. We can nuke the old material. Rock large as a world file. There's definitely no need to push this out to a model file, right? There are no animations that a rock should ever have aside from falling over, and that's not really an animation. That's just being a rock. Right, that can live inside the rigid body physics, and it can just fall over, roll down hills, crush people, whatever we feel like having it do. So, alright, rock is in. So now we need to incorporate the rock into the world generator. Otherwise, it won't know how to make them. So we spawn trees, spawn bushes, we're also going to spawn rocks. Here's our graph, here's the game world. Spawn trees. So we're just going to copy the spawn trees function for now. Rocks. Spawn rocks. And all of the code in here is essentially just purely dedicated to the random generation of the world. So that's the nice thing, is if we're ever looking for anything, it's going to end up specifically in this class somewhere. And rocks don't need to end up in any specific supernode. We don't need them organized in any special, crazy way. So we are simply going to go so far as to grab the root node of the world, and we're just going to throw them into the root node of the world. That's it. Simple as can be. Rock count. Right now we only have one rock model. Rock large. And that's fine. We can expand it out later. As we find more, we'll expand the array, just add more strings to this, and then the strings will get loaded in and it will get placed. The funny thing is, we don't really give a shit about any of the cell details. All we really want in here is a chance. What are the chances that we will spawn a rock? Let's... This is a pretty large rock. It takes up the entire tile and turns that tile off in terms of pathfinding. So I think we definitely don't need a controller for the rock. But we do need, here we go, rock type. It's going to end up here with our rock instance and our rock rotation. I don't know why I don't just name these very generally, but how it goes. Sometimes I just feel like being specific. We don't want to ever set controller. Here's our world root. Whoops, and I hit insert. Add new subnode. I guess that should be append new subnode, sorry. And then we add the rock. And that's it. So we essentially go through every single cell and say, is there a chance we want to put a giant rock here? For now, let's just do something crazy. Have a ton of rocks everywhere. And then we'll kind of go from there. And we give it a random rotation just to make things a little more interesting. Also, its position is getting a random point in the cell. For here, I think this thing is large enough that just putting them on the cell center is all that should matter. And the other thing to keep in mind is that each time we do this, we need to cut off that rock. Set pathing blocked. Yeah. we need to tell the cell that, hey, look, nobody can walk through your square. Just something you need to know. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap. There's a Boolean in here. I thought there was a Boolean in here. Right? Inside the cell. I thought there was... Oh, there isn't a contains water anymore. Right. So a Boolean called canPath, and it's essentially a can we walk over this square? That's all there really is to it. Bool canPath void const return this, and then we have a void set path blocked. canPath is now false. Eventually, maybe we'll open this up to be a little more dynamic, where, okay, you can destroy the rock, and then the rock needs to say, oh, you're now available. But for now, we don't care. canPath false. Cool. Sorry, canPath is true. Haha, don't mind that. And down here, we need to add another OR statement that says, or... let's see here. If the height difference is too big, or the neighbor contains water. Oh, here's something. Set contains. Whoops. Set contains water. No, there's a place where we set water. Set water. Where are you? Not in the cell system, but in the cell. There's revealed. Contains water. Set water index. What we're going to do is we're going to say if the water vertex start is greater than or equal to 0, we're just going to block the pathing. So canPath is false. And then this set pathing blocked is actually a function called set path blocked. Not pathing, but path. Let's just say set blocked. I like that better. And set blocked and is blocked. And that will actually end up changing part of our heuristic down here, which says if the neighbor not just contains water, actually, we can actually replace this thing here and say, not just if it contains water, but if it is blocked, then you can't walk through it, so we're not even going to bother. Renter, yeah, you get used to keyboard shortcuts after a while. Home and end become good friends. Same with control home and control end for the beginning and end of file, or you use page up and page down a lot as well. So you'll see me jumping around the place. Also, control when switching between words is also something that you get used to very quickly. Just a matter of time and experience using these commands in Visual Studio. Same with Control Tab is another one. You get used to switching between all your tabs pretty quickly. And that's a nice thing to get to know because it makes you more productive, makes more people want to hire you, and makes people want to pay you more money because you're quicker. And it gets you past the boring part. Excuse me. Of all the programming, which is the actual typing part. I consider the typing part boring. Whiteland, how did the shadows turn out? They turned out better. They're getting there. I'm still working with them. We'll figure out a way to make them a little bit cleaner, probably a lot later on down the line. But I've kind of realized that I should stop futzing with artsy things and work on anything that changes gameplay. That's really what I should be focusing on. Also, the other thing I just realized, I should probably do rocks first and then trees, because what's going to happen is a rock will take up an entire cell and then a tree will try and spawn on the same spot and problems will happen. And so what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to say if the cell doesn't if the cell can't contain trees, or it contains water, or if the cell is blocked, then we won't spawn trees on there either. And let's spawn a little bit more in the way of trees. So lowering that number makes trees more likely to happen. Wait, does it? No, it doesn't. Sorry, I lied. Heightening this number causes that to go up, because it's a greater than here. So if the floating number I generate is greater than the cell area, so we want to raise this number in order to make that more likely to happen. Look at that. Rocks everywhere. Rocks on rocks. Rocks everywhere. Now the only thing you'll note here, first off, there's rocks in the water. Let's undo that, because that seems unfortunate at the very least. Also, all the rocks were at the same height, it looked like. So, spawn rocks. What the heck did I do wrong in here? Problem number one. I was using a 0.2D to populate the cell get elevation. There we go. And we need another closed bracket around that. So okay, that'll fix the height thing. Also, we need to jump in here and say if the cell contains water, we need to skip it. And I just realized I was backwards yet again. I need to think about my code a little more in the future. Orel is asking, between ray collisions or the physics system, who is best? I have no idea what that means. I guess if you're asking who's faster, depending on how the code's written, it can go any number of ways. In this engine, ray collisions are part of the physics system, so you can't really distinguish the two from each other. Okay, that's a lot of rocks. Granted, that's what I was going for, right? Also, the other thing, you'll notice all the rocks are at their correct height and all visible all the time. We need to turn that off. That's kind of killing us, too. Oh... And this would be why I would want a rock controller. Very simply. Crap. I didn't think about this. I did not consider this at all. The problem is that... Dang it. So the problem here is that the visibility of trees, I believe, is being governed. Let's double check this. But I think the visibility of trees is being governed by their controller. Yeah, handle cell reveal. Crap. Okay. Crap. So I would need a rock controller, and the rock controller would specifically do nothing more than handle a cell reveal. And I'm not terribly happy about that. Well, first things first, let's turn down the number of rocks in the system, because it's kind of absurd. So let's make it somewhat rare that we see them. Also... Is it just me, or are they not actually taking up an entire square like I thought they would? No, they are. They're taking up the entire cell, or they're taking up a good portion of it. So really the only thing left is just getting their portioning, or not the portioning right, getting their ability to be visible at all times correct. Because right now, that's a lot of controllers attached to things, and I don't like that. So we could attach a very simple controller to this thing. We just say, rock. And then, let's see here. We want the tree controller, but only so much of it. Specifically, where the heck is it? There's the tree controller. Yeah, we'll put this at the end. This will be our rock controller, and it will have very little attached to it, right? It's going to be just a basic controller. It will have an observer, and that's it. So none of this, nor this, just this. These couple functions, and that's all. Grab this, jump to the bottom of the file. None of this resource crap should still be here. The big thing here is that we want it to hide it, and then we want to grab the cell. We'll call this the, we'll just cell, doesn't matter. And then controller preprocess. You two don't exist anymore. You are a rock controller. Come on, fingers. Type for me. You are a standard controller whose type is kcontroller rock. And we're going to do a little extra just to make sure that this whole thing goes off without a hitch, and so that our performance actually improves as time goes on. And what we're going to do... Why are you... Oh. What we're going to do is when we handle the cell revealing, we are going to actually need the cell. Oh, I didn't think about that. We need to leave this here. I actually can't remove it. Hey, Dead Pixel, I think it's fantastic that the most popular game dev stream is a wall of code, because honestly, that's what most actual game development is these days, aside from those who use Unity or Game Maker or stuff like that, which granted, I'd be really interested in watching something like, you know, the guy who made Stealth Bastard. I'd be really happy to watch him make a game. But, that said, you know, it's kind of an each to his own kind of thing. So, okay, we actually never assigned the rock controller to the rock. Once again, not difficult. Rock instance, set controller to the new rock controller that we have just generated. I am glad you aren't being sarcastic, because, hey, I wasn't either. I absolutely love it. Okay, and now you'll note none of our rocks that are out in our area exist. In fact, let's make this stupidly obvious when we find a new rock, just to make sure this works. 0.2, right? Nice small area. Rocks everywhere. And notice how our frame rate, if we look at the frame rate, it actually hasn't gotten much worse. The worst part of it is mostly because the shadow mapping has to deal with all these rocks. Aside from that, our frame rate's not that bad. So what we're going to tell this guy, please scout an area whose center is at, let's say 5 and 0 in a depth of 5. Whoop, off he goes. Now, yes, he's still walking through water. We'll need to figure that one out. In the meantime, I can answer questions. Like... Oh gosh. Mr. Rimvidas. Rimvidas? Asking where did I learn game dev with C++? I learned that at university. I went to UC Santa Cruz for a while and ended up... I love how he's even exploring the tiles that we already know about. Whoops. So yeah, I learned that at university. I spent about 4 years at university and then 2 more years at a community college before that when I was working on that. Hey, look at that. And there's the new area. The fog is also making this somewhat problematic. They actually look like headstones as the fog rolls in, which is kind of funny. What is wrong? I wonder why they do that in one direction and the trees work just fine in another. What are they doing that the trees aren't? Because the trees look right. I mean, look at that. The trees look... if I go in under the fog layer. So the trees look just fine. The rocks are the ones that are messed up. So we'll need to look at that again. Because that's... at some point. Because that's messing with me. But the rocks work. Rocks are done. Hey, look at that. Fastest feature ever. Let's get the... Let's see here. Yeah, get this rock out of here. And just for the sake of a little... yeah, just for the sake of a little bit of variety. Because that, as they say... Whoops. Wrong program. That, as they say, is the spice of life. So I'm going to nuke that. Paste in this other rock that we've got. And Control-Shift-C. We're going to switch to center of mass. Pull this back to center. 0.1151. 115 should be close enough. And we're actually a little high. We've got some float space here. Oh, come on. There we go. Aha! That looks good. Looks a little off the ground, but it's so close I don't actually care. There we go. So we've got a new rock. And save as... This is also rock large 2. Because I'm not terribly inventive when it comes up with names. So I'm not really too terribly excited about that. Also, I don't know if I exported it to the engine format. I've also I've got some questions here. Is this my own game engine? No. I wish I could code something this beautiful, but no. This game engine is made by Terrathon Software. I just happen to own a license for it. Truncation from double to float. You should be afloat. Do the trees and the rocks use the same shader? I thought they did, although they might not. I need to double check that. But I thought they did. I thought they all use the same shader, which is really what's confusing me. Do I hardcode in the texture files into classes? No. The texture file is part of the shader. So the engine has a material system, and the material system ends up creating all my shaders. It's got a graph-based shader system, and so I can just include the texture files there. So it's not hard-coded. It's a setting or property that I set. Do the trees have alpha where the rocks don't? Both should have alpha enabled. If they use the same shader, they should both have the alpha enabled. That's really the big thing that I will have to check. Model/rock large. Yeah, look at that naming convention. And why are you complaining? Oh, because... There we go. So, there's the new rock that we haven't installed yet. Because we need to write a new world where we import our new rock. And once again, we just grab the terrain default material. Nuke that. Set the material for the rock. And it's difficult to see because I don't have any lighting in this world file, but that's fine. The rock is there. Its UVs look fine. It's kind of dark, but it's not the end of the world. We have to put its name in. These we aren't going to be exporting to models because they're just instanced worlds. And look at that, different rocks. Hey, now granted there's a ton of them, but we can futz with that later. Also, you'll notice with the random rotations here, can make them look slightly different as well. Although, once again, the tree in the rock-filled space is not making me terribly happy. I might need to fix that. So, okay, the rocks use, as far as I know, the terrain material, right? Terrain default has an alpha test, some multi-sample coverage, and the shaders are pretty simple, right? It's just a texture coordinate into a texture map, and then scalar into our multiplication process, which goes into our ambient, and then our lighting is the same exact thing, but we multiply it by the diffuse reflection. This isn't exactly crazy stuff. So the real question becomes here, why is one of these acting differently from the trees? And I should be able to figure out why. Let's see. Let's look at one of our trees here. Your material. Yeah, your material is exactly the same. There's nothing different between these two shaders. Because, as it turns out, they're the same exact shader. So this is somewhat problematic. I don't know why the fog would make one object a bright white while the other one continues to be its kind of boring shade of color. Not boring, but standard. Dum-dum-dum. So, apply distance occlusion to the fog space. Okay, that's one thing I can try. It's just weird that it works on one and not the other, but we'll do what the forum says and see if it helps at all. Apply distance occlusion. Sure. Time of day, we'll just set it to late so that the, nope, same issue still. What? Wait, what? Look at this. One rock is having the problem, but the other isn't? Guys, I'm so lost. I don't know. I really don't. Okay, the standard rock. Terrain default. You set material, save. We should probably nuke the old one, just for the sake of safety. I have no idea what's going on here. Why one would be working and the other isn't. Time of day, back to the late hours. Oh my god. It's only one object in the scene doing this. No, it's not. Actually, I lied. I completely lied. All my buildings are doing it as well. But for some reason, this newly applied rock isn't. And if I do it as well to, say, like one of these building types, it's actually even worse. Why don't I use Blender's game engine? I don't know Blender's game engine. I'd rather not spend forever making a game because I don't quite understand what's going on with. Gosh darn it. It probably has something to do with the fact that the fog flags are, or not the fog flags, that the light direction or something is coming on weird. Okay, so the problem wasn't turning on the occlusion, because it honestly shouldn't. If you think about occlusion, occlusion is the term used when it should hide something. I didn't think that would help, but I kind of hoped it would. Depth occlusion, no. And there's really nothing else attached to this. So it's not like... It's not like I have any idea what's going on. Honestly don't know. Let's see here. Yeah, it's just bizarre that, Alright, how did I fix the house? The house isn't... Well, in terms of the fog, the house isn't fixed. In terms of the lighting on the house... Sorry, other house. All I did was change the ambient color. I mean, it's really the only... if you just turn up the ambient color slightly, it causes the whole model to have a much better looking ambient, and that's really it. Why does this not work? Alright, so I didn't really jump in to fix this today. This is something that has technically been a problem, as my partner is telling me, for quite some time. Let's see here. So I'm tempted to say I'm not going to fix this on stream because this is something that could cause a lot of time of me just staring at like engine forums and trying to figure out what to do. It's almost like the fog is too dense. Let's see here. Have to figure out where and when to dump a breakpoint if I was to get into the if I was gonna try and get into the render code. Specifically, figuring out where the shaders jump in is gonna be the hard part. You can't just debug a shader, and unfortunately that might be the point I'd want to start in at. Or at least you can't just debug a shader without special tools, I should say. And it's been a while since I've used a lot of these tools. Let's see here. What is different? I know it's different. Oh crap, I know it's different. Rock large 1. Okay, look at some of these details in the transform, okay? It's standard transform, but you'll notice it's lifted slightly here. The other thing to do is notice that it's got some rotation and a bunch of scale applied to it as is. Now, if I apply all this information to the actual model itself, which is something I haven't done for the other models in the game, what I can do is I can apply all of that information to the vertices so that the vertices don't have that information. So the vertices do have that information encoded into the position information. So I save this. We do the re-export to this format. We then crack open once again our good old-fashioned, not old-fashioned, but we crack open the material editor, or not material, world. Shoot, I'm saying the wrong words all over the place. I'm sorry. We're going to re-import that rock. We're going to set our material on that rock, and I don't think, yeah, there's no model file for this, so we don't need to re-import that. Oh, but watch this. I bet there is something wrong. Let's put this house in for reference. Also, you'll notice the construction object is having the problem, but now the other rocks aren't. Hey, I got it. I don't know why, but for some reason, it's probably something to do with vertex positions. I can't fathom. Oh, you know what? If you look at the vertex positions, unscaled, it probably looks like this item is so far submerged inside of the terrain that it's actually causing the object to become a bright white. And what I need to do, or what I am doing by applying that vertex coloring to the object, is that the object is then having all of its vertices wrenched into a valid zone. So this, because its vertices are usually stupidly freaking huge, are causing the engine to think that for, at least for the purposes of, let's see here, quarters, at least for the purposes of fog, that this object is submerged much further below in the fog than it really is. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'll probably do a little research. I'll let you guys know if I come up with anything. But the big thing here is that I know a solution. Is the scale being clamped to 0? What do you mean clamped to 0? Why would you ever clamp the scale to 0? That'd be bad. The scale wasn't clamped to 0. It was at like 0.001, right? It was doing this, which is not good. Alright, so we've got that. We've got it exported. We just need to re-import any object that currently is using that old system to use the new, not new material, to use the new vertex details. I still don't understand why you would want to clamp scale to a small number like 0. If you're changing the scale in the engine, that's a terrible idea. The engine should be doing little more than just using the existing geometry and pushing it out to the final product. Honestly, this is a bug, not in the engine, but in the actual 3D model. Because it's probably something to do with the crazy format that's going on. Quarters, there we go. I mean, there we go. Alright, so let's put a couple of these buildings down. I actually really want to see what they do actually look like at night. Also, let's get some of these stupid rocks out of here. Way too many rocks. I just don't want the rocks. I don't think he would be doing any unnecessary clamping in here. This engine is pretty minimal in terms of all the crap being done by the engine itself. There's no need to really consider what the engine's doing, because he tends to be pretty on top of all of his stuff. Ah, the joys of not requiring resources for our little town yet. And then time of day, 18. So the only other thing I'm noticing is that there's no trees in here. I really need to turn up, apparently, the number of trees. But that looks much better already. A nice actual fog on the house, as opposed to some of the... Whoops! Granted, I can still get in under the fog layer and just turn it off, which is kind of dumb. But, I can handle that. Yeah, I mean, there might have been a problem somewhere in the exporter as well. If it's doing some crazy operation inside the Python export stuff, then it definitely could have been causing bad geometry to get sent to the engine, and then when the engine's just rendering it, it doesn't know any better. Gosh, my nose is still plugged. Ugh. Cannot win. Still, that looks much nicer. The fog is not detriment at all. It looks really nice. Although it does... Let's just quickly turn up the ambient ever so slightly on these. Specifically, you should be, let's just, I don't know, 0.5. I don't want it crazy bright, but I don't want it, like, completely black either. That's a good in between. And then we close that. Reload. Whoops. Wait. Halt. Cease. Desist. Export to a model. There we go. Because eventually I do want animations on that. Also, tree count. Why are you so low? Oh wait, if it's greater than. What is going on here? That is incredibly bizarre. The way in which it's generating trees and rocks in the same cell. Cell is blocked. Contains water and is blocked are kind of two synonymous things. Oh, okay. I see. This one does not belong there. Is blocked. Sorry, is false. That's my problem. Haha. I was checking the wrong direction on that boolean, and suddenly trees everywhere. Let's turn that shit back down. And this is the reason why I need to move some of this data into a data file. There we go. Much cleaner. Much better. Okay. I'm much happier with this. Much, much happier. as he goes around and builds them. And you can see there's some ambient on this now. You can actually see details where the shadows are, which is good. Ambient color is nice, so that even in the middle of the night, when we're looking at, dark colors, you can still see there's detail attached to this, even though it might be a little difficult, especially on stream, to see. I promise you, it exists. It's there. I need to get his color in line with the rest of the world eventually, but that's another thing for another day. It looks much better, though. Alright, guys. So I think that's going to be it for today. I've been at this for about 5 hours. I'll take any questions if you guys have any. But, it looks like we accomplished all of our tasks. Excuse me. We got all of our work done. Buildings are in. I need to get the AI to accept. Excuse me. Ooh. I need to get the AI to accept the idea of a building, so he goes and sleeps in it instead of outdoors, where he is probably going to attempt to sleep if he doesn't die first. But that said, we're still pretty well done. He is probably assigned to one of these buildings, I just don't know which. I need to make a little button that just says, hey, please notify me of which house this guy lives in. That shouldn't be hard. Either way, for those of you who are joining me for the first time or have never seen me do this before, thank you for being here. Actually, those of you who have been here before as well, thank you. If you want to see more of what I do, or if you like the... I know my voice doesn't sound too lovely right now, because for some reason it's gotten all scratchy. Probably the lack of water. Let me take a moment to drink a little of that. No coffee today, because Krispy Kremes are enough sugar for a lifetime. But, that said, whew, that's much better already. For those of you who are, joining me for the first time, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, please hit that follow button. I'm always happy to have more people joining me, and thank you again, everybody, for making me one of the top streams in the game dev. I think I actually am the top stream at game dev right now. And thank you very much, guys, for making me, putting me into that position. It's very humbling that you guys find this oh so interesting to watch. Yep, there he goes, sleeping away. I do wish he would sleep inside the house, but that'll be next, after I get the AI system put into place. If I get the state machines into a tool, I'd be a lot happier. So, thank you again, guys. Can the character die? Oh, yeah. If he runs out of health, he'll kind of pass out the same way he currently has, but without the cute little Z's to let you know that he's sleeping. And eventually I want him to actually rot into, like, skeleton and bones and such, and be a rotted corpse, unless your people go out and, like, dig him a grave or something. Stuff like that. Always stuff like that. Yep, there he is. He's alive again, and we can just watch his health drop as I take any more questions before I sign off for today. But thank you again, everybody. It's been a lot of fun. Today was very productive. The game engine is the C4 game engine. There are details in the stream down below. Whoop, there he went. Ka-thunk. He is now dead. Poor guy. He deserved better, but, Thus was the life of Jordan Taylor. I love my random name generator. But yeah. I probably need to update my to-do list at some point. I have a Trello. Also, there's a link in the stream description that's got a bunch of... You can kind of see what I've been up to and see what I'm working on. Either way, I'm not seeing any more questions come through, so thanks again, guys. Take care, have a good rest of your day, and hopefully I will see you on the next stream. Later.